On Used Bike Heaven this week, we'll meet Louise Kay. She's a drag racer who wants to go even faster. We'll also have another featured used bike, some riding tips and some information to help us stay on the right side of the law. This is Louise Kay. Louise is a 24-year-old mobile hairdresser and beauty therapist who's been riding bikes for 6 years. Her current bike is a 600cc Suzuki Bandit, which she also uses for drag racing. This week she's on the lookout for something big and beefy, which she'll not only use as a road bike, but should help improve her times at the drag strip.
Hello and welcome to this week's show, and I have Louise with me. Now Louise, you've got a Bandit 600, haven't you? What's up, is that not quick enough for you?
It is. It's all right for like one of your first big bikes, but I'd like something with a bit more grunt because we're doing the dragging. It's just not quite fast enough. I'm not getting near the top of the table. Like.
Right. Okay, so the bikes that you look at today, you would possibly take them on the track as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh God, right, okay. Well, we've got 3 bikes for you today. We've got the ZRX 1100, we've got the Bandit 1200 and the XJR 1300.
Right.
Do you have a budget?
Yeah, about no more than 4,000 really.
Ooh, well that one might just tempt you to go a little bit over. These two are both imports and they're £4,000. That's actually 4,400. But you may fall in love with it and just think you can see yourself winning on that one. What do you reckon to them looks-wise?
Well, I'm biased to the Bandit straight away because that's what I've got and I like them. I think that one looks slightly dated. It might only be, you know, the little bikini fairing on it, but
it's that little retro look, isn't it, that they're wanting to achieve.
It's not attractive to me, but the XJR, it's quite a traditional looking bike, so it looks nice. I'm not into your customs or anything, but it's traditional look, and obviously you've got the power, so...
Yeah, so we've done all right then by today?
Yeah, great.
Is this all right? Well, we're going to set you off on them in a minute. But before we do, we're going to go to Richard, who's going to give you some hints and tips on how to handle these. All right.
Our first bike this week, Louise, is an imported Kawasaki ZRX 1100. First introduced in '97, the ZRX uses an inline 4-cylinder motor, which is based on the ZZR 1100, although it now has an alloy block and some mock fins to give it that air-cooled retro look. It is, of course, much heavier than your own 600 Bandit, in fact a full 25 kilos more, but with that comes extra power, a claimed 104 brake horsepower. This example is from '98 and it's covered just 1,700 kilometres, so it is in immaculate condition. It has an aftermarket exhaust can and sits in a used bike showroom with a price tag of 4,000 quid. Next, Louise, is something that should feel quite familiar. It's the big brother to your own bike, Suzuki's 1200cc Bandit. Launched in '96, the Bandit 12 has become well established on the big muscle bike scene and remains a firm favourite with stunt riders, drag racers and those looking for a no-nonsense bike that represents good value for money. Although the motor is twice the capacity of your own bike, it doesn't follow that you'll have twice the power. In fact, 96 bhp is about normal for a 1200 Bandit. This example again is an import. It's a W registered one from the year 2000 and is showing 11,000 kilometres. Condition is excellent, it's in standard trim. The price once again is £4,000. Our final bike this week is Yamaha's XJR 1300. This bike first appeared in '98 when it replaced the XJR 12, which had been around since 1995. The motor is based on that used in the trusty old FJ 1200, and there's still plenty of those on our roads with huge mileages, so reliability shouldn't be too much of a problem. It has all the features you'd expect to find on a retro-style machine. Twin shocks, chromed silencers and a big single headlamp. But very cleverly, Yamaha have managed to build a slightly sporty look into the XJR. This model is a UK bike from the year 2000, and although mileage is above average at 15,000, it is in showroom condition. However, it is slightly above your price range, Louise, but you might just be tempted at £4,400.
Okay, Louise, so that was Richard there. Did you get anything good from that?
Yeah, sure.
You did? Right, brilliant. Well, we're going to set you out on the ZRX 1100, the smallest engine. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, fine.
Brilliant. Have you ever ridden one of these before?
No, I've not.
Right. Okay, well, do you want to get your kit on then and tell us what you think when you get back? You look a bit apprehensive.
No, I'm excited.
Okay, well, Louise goes out on the Kawasaki. We're over to Richard with this week's used bike review.
Small ones are more juicy, seems to become a kind of unofficial theme for my summer riding as we continue to look at the fun of sizzling little 400 sports bikes. Now, we've already done the two best sellers, both from Honda, the CBR and the VFR. This week it's a Yamaha and the FZR. And it might not be the best of sellers, in fact it's probably amongst the worst of sellers, but it does have some little charms all of its own, and there are some very good reasons for looking at one. First and foremost being that of all of the 400s, it's probably the most flexible. You can actually squeeze an extra few bhp. You can raise it from about 63 to the best part of 70. You can actually get some surprisingly good results just by changing the can, which has already happened on this one, and dynajetting it. The result is, well, quite a nippy thing. Don't forget, when you've only got a few bhp to play with, every extra one makes a big difference. It's often been said that if you were going to race a 400, then okay, the CBRs and VFRs of this world are very good, but an FZR with its extra flexibility and tunability is certainly worth a shout. There's no doubt about it that with its incredibly fast turn and its nimble agility and surprising turn of speed at the high revs, a well-ridden 400 will just absolutely show a clean pair of heels to any good mid-range 600, which is good news for the growing number of people who are going for them. And it's not just the fun of running inside a much larger, more powerful bike either that's in their favour, because there's expense. This G-plate, in pretty decent nick, is up for grabs at about $250, something like that. They may not be the cheapest little bikes to get into, but once you've bought it, there's one massive saving to be made, particularly by younger riders: insurance. Possibly down to as little as half what you'll pay for a 600, which can mean a massive difference. Might mean a few extra quid to spend on getting that nice little race can, getting it dynajetted, and making sure you do beat the 600s. Hey, what a surprise, it's another 400 that turns in quicker than you can possibly think about it. Actually, I found the riding position somehow even more cramped than the others. It is slightly different, but when you're this squashed up, the slightest change in angle does make a big difference to your comfort. Once you've settled in though, it is again superb. All the power is right up at the top of the rev range. It sounds glorious and it goes like fury. Perhaps the mid-range could do with a bit of a boost, but then this is, as we've said, the most flexible of the 400s, and I'm sure you can tune your way around that with a bit of work. The handlebars are low, very, very low. The yoke itself dips down and they're clipped on below that onto the fork stanchions, which means you really are hunched over this thing. Do you know, I'm really falling for this whole 400 thing. I'm actually falling in love with the whole idea of them, and I think apart from the performance, it's partly because the smaller the bikes get, the more toy-like they are, the more there's something you really feel you can own, possibly even stick it under your arm and take it home with you if it's going to get wet outside. And also, the smaller they get, the nicer the details, the finishing on little bits and pieces. This FZR might look a bit sharp, a bit brutal, but as you look closer, it's really quite delicate. Mind you, this exposed part of the frame here looks extremely sturdy. It's a real tactile thing with this rough finish on it. You really feel it's holding the bike together and pinning it in at this little waspy waist here. Massive, massive swing arm for such a small wee beastie. Tiny little disc on the back, but up front the brakes are fearsome. I really did have myself risking some nasty damage on the back of the tank first time I tried using those. Two twin pot calipers make absolutely sure that for a bike weighing about as much as a box of matches, you're going to stop very quickly indeed. Nicely shaped little rear indicators as well, tapering back. Surprisingly, don't forget this is a 10-year-old bike. Just looking at it, it really hasn't aged.
Well, thanks for that, Richard. Now, Louise is back with the ZRX. Louise, what did you think?
Yeah, it was comfy enough. It wasn't really too heavy. I was a little bit disappointed with my setting off because it was just like my 6. If you opened it up, it was quite good. It got like quite a high top speed.
Yeah.
But when I was trying to go slow, it was just a little bit chuggy.
Yeah.
It was like a 6. It didn't feel like an 11 at all.
And setting off's very important to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, handling-wise, did it feel a lot heavier?
No, it didn't really. It was quite comfortable. I mean, I went round the roundabout and it was nice. It felt like it was pulling just, you know, really well. But again, it's not for me.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, you know, you might like it the rest of the 3. You never know. So, I mean, looks-wise, we know you think it's dated. I mean, does that really put you off?
Yeah. It wouldn't have done at one time, but it does now.
Yeah. What about the slightly different colour scheme, or do you like the black, like the mean black?
I like black, but just black.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, you know, was there anything you kind of liked about this?
I like the noise. It was
yes,
nice
it sounds
sound.
very good.
It sounds really well.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it wasn't bad at all. I just think my expectations were a little bit too much.
Is it a little bit too similar to your 6?
Yeah, it was just, and like I said, top end it was quite good, but it didn't feel I think I was just expecting a bit more speed, really, more smooth, you know.
Well, I think I may have a little bit more speed for you here. The Bandit 1200, obviously, you're a Bandit woman. So have you ever ridden a 1200 before?
I've had a little go, I've like sort of potted about on a couple, but I've never had a ride on one, really.
A proper ride to see if you want to buy it. Fantastic. Well, get your helmet on then and let us know what you think. Okay. So while Louise has a play on the Suzuki, we're over to Paul and PC Pulfrey with some riding legalities.
Sounds nice, doesn't it? The reason it sounds nice is because it's got an aftermarket can on it, and the fact is that aftermarket cans, exhausts, are the most popular accessory that we stick on our bike, things like these, all these sort of race cans. But there are certain rules and regulations that we need to abide by when we're choosing a can, aren't there, Chris?
There certainly are.
Certain things we can't have. Tell me what we should have, first of all.
Well, if we look at this exhaust here, brand new machine, and on here, see, it's all stamped up, and there's the critical E mark just underneath the logo.
Right, that's a standard manufacturer's exhaust, that, isn't it?
Yeah. And they'll all come with the E mark on, or the BSA U mark on it, which shows it's a road legal standard exhaust system.
But you can buy aftermarket exhausts that are road legal, can't you?
You can get a replacement can.
Yeah.
If you dropped it, for instance, want to keep it looking something like, and that again will have the E mark on to show it's a road legal can.
Right. Is this bikes after a certain year? This is
1st of January 1985.
Right.
They've got to have the markings on the exhaust system.
Right.
Prior to that, you've still got to have a proper exhaust system, but it doesn't have to be stamped up.
Right, okay. So what about all the race cans that people stick on the bikes and all the aftermarket things? I mean, just a big no-no?
Basically, no, you can't do it.
Right, so what if it says on it, this is not for road use?
Definite no-no. And, of course, the other thing is insurance implications.
Yeah.
If you fall off and the insurance officer comes around and finds out you've got something on there marked not for road use, potentially you've got a reduction in your payout, or no payout at all.
Because strictly speaking, it should not pass an MOT, should it, if it's got an illegal exhaust?
No.
So it won't pass an MOT, so therefore your insurance is invalid, isn't it? Shouldn't be on the road.
Yes, that's right.
Right, big trouble. So if it's not got the marks, it shouldn't be on the bike. Right. If it is on the bike and you get stopped, what's the penalty likely to be?
Well, you can be issued with a vehicle defect form,
Yep.
which gives you 14 days to have the form stamped up at an MOT station showing you put the original or an aftermarket stamped up can back on.
Right.
But potentially it can be a level 3 fine, which is up to £1,000.
Wow, that's pretty expensive, isn't it? But worse than that, the worst scenario has got to be you have a misfortune on your bike and you're not insured.
That's got to be the worst one, yeah, definitely.
Right, so bear that in mind.
Do you know every day's an education with those two? Well, that's it for part one. Join us in part two when we find out what Louise thinks to the big Bandit and we send her out on the XJR. And Paul will be back to give you some advice on how to brush up on your riding skills. See you after the break. Welcome back to Used Bike Heaven. Now, if you were with us before the break, you'll know we're with drag racer Louise, who currently has a 600 Bandit but wants something with a bit more power. So we sent her out on the ZRX. She didn't particularly like that. So then we sent her out on the Bandit 1200. And what did you think?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Right. You are a
Perfect.
Bandit woman then, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So what did you think? What was good about it?
It was just really smooth. The power was just all there. Turned quick, everything about it. Brakes, everything.
Really?
Yeah, brilliant.
And obviously you like the look of the Bandit.
Yeah, I do quite.
I know you change it drastically, don't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean this is well, it's your budget. It's £4,000.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference to you, doesn't it? Obviously.
Yeah.
And so yeah, comfort-wise.
Yeah, it was. It might just be me, but it felt like I was sort of dead high up, and just. I think it was because it was quick.
Yeah.
It sort of turned, and it was. I felt like I was on a pogo stick, but it was just so quick, so smooth.
Yeah.
However fast or slow I went, it was smooth. The gear changes were just like a dream.
Fantastic. So anything you didn't like about it? All right, well that's covered that one then. Well, that's good. That's brilliant then. So now we've really got to compare it to this XJR.
Yeah.
Have you ever ridden one of these before?
No, I've not. But I say I'm looking forward to having a go with a bit of a beefy bike.
Yeah, 1300 engines.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Well, there you go then. You go and get your helmet on, get off and tell us what you think. So while Louise is on her third and final test, here's Paul with some advice on your riding.
Thank you, Fran. Now, wouldn't it be great if every time we went out on our bikes we knew the road really well, we knew every twist and turn, then we could have some serious fun. Sadly, that's never going to be the case, but there are things you can use and places you can look which will help tell you which way the road ahead goes. Now, on this road there's not too much of a problem. We can see well ahead and we know that the road is clear and there aren't too many twists and turns. Now we're following another vehicle which is completely blocking our view, so we can use its movements to give us some idea of where the road goes. If the vehicle suddenly disappears left or right, we could be approaching a sharp bend, or if its brake lights come on, then that could be a warning that we're actually approaching a hazard. But one of the best ways to read the road is to use the road markings themselves. Here we're approaching a solid white line system, which of course we mustn't cross and we mustn't overtake when it's on our side of the road. Now, if we look ahead to where it becomes broken on our side, then that is where the road starts to open up. So it becomes broken about there, and we can see that now the road straightens out. Here's another example, solid white line, so we'll look ahead to where it's broken, which is there, and we can accelerate through. If the white line remains solid, then that's an indication that the road continues to twist and turn. But once again, when it becomes broken, the road starts to open out. And it seems to work every time. I've yet to find a situation where that isn't the case. A solid white line means there's a hazard ahead. It could be a bend, a tight bend, it could be a blind dip in the road, a bridge, or something else that we need to address with caution. But where the line on your side of the road becomes broken, the road opens out and your view ahead is much, much better. You have a look next time you're out.
Well, thank you, old wise one. And while you were away, Louise returned with our XJR. Louise, what did you think?
Very nice, yeah. It handled well. It wasn't too heavy at all.
Yeah, because it's a big, powerful engine. I mean, it's, you know, over double the size of yours, isn't it? So, which is what you want.
Absolutely, yeah.
So was it smooth?
Yeah, it was smooth. Not quite as smooth as the Bandit, but it was smooth. It was only slightly more jerky. Again, going at lower speeds, but opening it up, it was all right.
Yeah.
It was good.
I bet. Right, well, we know what you think to that then. So can you cast your mind back to the Kawasaki?
Right.
Yeah, good points for that.
It sounded well.
Is that the only one you can think of?
No.
It was comfortable.
Yeah, very comfortable, yeah. I think if you go into a big bike and perhaps didn't have a lot of confidence, it'd be very good because, again, it didn't pull away too quick. It wasn't snatchy.
Yeah.
And it was smooth if, you know, you weren't looking for something to be fast. I said before about its looks. If I took the front screen off, it's actually nicer. No, I'm looking at it.
The body of the bike looks
I've had a
pretty
chance
good.
to have a good look at it and it's not bad at all.
Yeah, and it goes with your leathers very well.
Yeah, just about.
The Bandit, well, we know you like Bandits, but what did you like about 1200?
I did like everything. I mean, I said again about being quite biased. I was looking forward to riding two others with having a 6 Bandit, but the difference is unreal.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean...
Can you go back to your 600 then, after these two?
I feel like a tractor after that. But yeah, it was, I did like the Suzuki. I mean, they're quite a common bike, which is good because I'm good at crashing as well.
Oh, we prefer popular to common, dear. Yeah, because, I mean, would that make a difference then for parts and things?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Everywhere you go, there's Bandit parts available.
Yeah.
So again, being what I am, a bit of a dizzy blonde.
Yeah, but you'll have to not crash so much. You'll have to learn to stay
Just
upright.
happens. So yeah, that's quite handy because that's something I'm aware of all the time. I've had a bike before that was quite different and it was impossible to get parts.
Yeah, and makes it an expensive thing. You'll have to,
absolutely.
well, you know, if you're going to keep crashing, that is. Bad points. Could you think of any? You couldn't think of any before?
I'd change the can, that's it.
Yeah?
Yeah, just the noise, that's the only thing, I think.
Right. So we know what you think to the XJR.
Yeah.
So have you made your mind up out of these three which one you would possibly go for? Don't tell me if you have, but have you?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, we're going to go to Richard, who's going to give us a recap.
Okie doke.
Okay, Louise, it's decision time. Will you spend £4,000 on Kawasaki's ZRX 1100, the bike which you said looked a little dated with its rather square headlamp fairing, but made a nice noise with its aftermarket exhaust? Or perhaps you'll opt for the bike which felt vaguely familiar, the big brother to your own bike, Suzuki's 1200 Bandit. Your times down the drag strip would certainly improve, but once again your bank balance would be £4,000 lighter. Maybe then it's the bike which you found to be the most comfortable, Yamaha's XJR 1300. Retro styling with a slightly sporty image. At 4,400 quid it's out of your budget, but maybe the extra comfort is worth the extra money.
So that was Richard with our recap, Louise, so put me out of my misery, which one it's going to be?
It is the Bandit, but just by the skin of its teeth, really.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you might go for the XJR. What stopped you?
Again, just about money-wise as well. I've got a lot of bits off my 6 that could go straight onto this, so...
And it's already £400 cheaper anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. So I did like the seat positioning on the Yamaha, but I've got a cut-down seat on my 600 that I can stick straight on that, and that would have been the only thing, really, because this is a good all-rounder. It's a fast bike, and it's good for playing on, good at wheelies and everything else.
I dread to think I will have to come and watch you. Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad you found what you're looking for.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for testing it for us.
Thank you.
So there you go. The Bandit once again steals the show. That's it for this week. Join us next week for some more used bike heaven.
On Used Bike Heaven next week, we'll once again be helping someone find their perfect bike. We'll have more legal advice, another riding tip, and of course there'll be another featured used bike.